you ever had a sad mallet that looks like this, or this, or this? Well, you don't want that. You can fix it, and I'll show you how today. What will you need for mallet wrapping? So the first thing you're going to need is some yarn. You can just choose some yarn based off of how fluffy you want your mallet. So basically, if you want a softer headed mallet, sort of like this, then you would want to pick yarn that's a little bit thicker, maybe like baby yarn if you want something really, really soft. But if you want to wrap something like a vibraphone mallet, you're going to want to use cord, which is a lot thinner, it's tightly wound. So you want to have it based off of your preference of hardness, like how hard you want to hit it and how loud of a sound you want, and based off of what instrument you're playing. So vibraphone, we usually use cord, and then marimba, we use like soft yarn or tightly wound yarn. So you want to make sure that you're not hurting your instrument based off of what yarn you're using. Another thing you're going to need is an embroidery needle. I did not say sewing needle there. Did you hear that? It's just an embroidery needle, and I said an embroidery needle because they're actually thicker, and then yarn can go through this wider loop, so then it'll actually fit, and then it's like a really rounded edge so that it's not going to poke your mallet too hard or like fray the yarn while you're sewing. The last thing you're going to need is, of course, a mallet to wrap. Like say you have a really worn out mallet and all of those fluffy yarn parts are frayed. What are you going to do? So the first thing you want to do is just cut off. I know it seems so brutal, but you want to cut off all of that excess part so you can get rid of it and then have basically a bare mallet head so that it's all ready and clean and fresh to wrap. Or you could find a mallet head, but say if you're wrapping something for marimba, do not use plastic mallets. Please, I repeat, do not use plastic mallets or things that are very hard inside, because you want to make sure that you use something that, like, when you bang it or hit it on your instrument, it's not going to damage it. So you would want something that has the sound sort of you want, the sound that you want, but it's going to have some protection with yarn. Another big thing, don't wrap mallets that are in nice condition. Doesn't this look beautiful? It's doing well. Don't cut it up. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our yarn, and remember that we're going to be wrapping in only one direction the whole way. So the first thing we're going to do is just wrap about 2 wraps around the bottom so you just have some tension to hold. And make sure to keep your thumb right there on top so it doesn't let go of those, because we're not tying a knot or anything right here. And just have some hanging out. It's going to disappear later after we wrap more, and you're going to start going over and under and another wrap. So see how I've just gone right over that, and I'm turning the mallet as I'm doing this. I'll do that again. So while I'm wrapping, I'm going to be wrapping and then turning it counterclockwise, actually, because I'm wrapping with my right hand. So I'll be wrapping and turning it while I'm doing this. So wrap, turn, wrap, again. You can have them a bit close together, but I like to go spaced out and then so that it becomes really even. So that's sort of what I have right now. Wrap and turn. Wrap and turn. Make sure not to be pulling too tight so that you're able to sew the crown later. And just have like a nice relaxed wrap, but not something that is like super tight. Something that still has tension that it'll hold. If you feel like it looks a little messy, you can take out a couple of wraps and then fix it up a little bit so that it's nice and neat how you like it. As you can see, we're starting to cover the whole mallet. You want to make sure to fill in all those gaps. You can adjust the angle a little bit if you want it to look a little fancy. You can do this with different colors actually too, but I'll save that for another time. Okay. See how that's looking? Sort of like a rose. But the thing you want to do is just push down on it, sort of make sure that you have room and that it's getting secure. I'm actually going to redo some of it so it's a little bit neater. I think this mallet is almost just about done. See how it's looking right now? If you'd like, you can count the wraps. I know some people count the wraps so that on the other mallet that they're wrapping, they can do the exact same amount of wraps. But what I like to do is just sort of eyeball it or do a sound test. So I think it's time for a sound test. So let's do something right here. So what we're going to do right now is just twist the mallet so that your wraps don't come out. Twist the yarn around the mallet like this. Yay! That way when you're doing your sound check, then you're not going to lose all those wraps. And you can also just adjust the shape of your mallet a little bit if you want by squishing it around. Okay, time for a sound check. So this mallet is really soft and it's like, it gives us a really warm, round sound. That'll be good on lower registers, but if you want it to be a little bit harder or you want to have it played on a higher register, you might want to take out some of the wraps so that it has more of a harsh, clear, articulate sound. Now we're ready to sew up the bottom crown, which is going to be a sewing alignment right down here. So we're going to cut our yarn at about an arm's length away. So here we have our needle, and at the long end that we just cut, an arm's length, you're going to put it, you can wet it a little bit so that you can get it through the embroidery needle. And pull it through just a bit. And basically you want to keep some room for you to hold on to. So I'll keep about this much so that I can hold it and also have some leftover on both sides. So it's like this. Looks like that. Okay, now you want to make sure that you're holding this tight so that you won't let the wraps go. And the first thing you want to do, take your needle, go close to the wood part, like the shaft of your mallet, really get in there and come out of the side, right there. Actually, wait, I should do this straight. So you want to try to come out just above that part. And I'm going to pull it. Try not to get any knots. But that's the first stitch that we got. Okay, that way you have the thread here coming out of the mallet so you can begin sewing your crown. So now let's go back under here and come out of the side. Come out of the side. Come out of the side. And then simply pull through Make sure you don't get any knots while doing this. Okay, now we have 2 stitches. So you're just going to go all the way along the edge of this mallet by going under and then pulling out of the side. Pull out. As you can see, there's a stitch made right there. So it's becoming secure to the actual wooden part of the mallet. Now let's go back under, come out, pull, it's getting nicer and nicer. So I'm just continuing to sew right around the mallet, go under, come out of the side, and pull, and I will just finish up all around the bottom of the mallet and come back and show you how to bring it to the top. Okay, this is the last wrap for the bottom crown. So I've gone all the way around here, as you can see at the bottom. And then now, this is my final one. I'm going to come out of the side and pull that nice and tight. Okay. So now what we have to do, we've sewn all around this bottom part, and we need to get the yarn up to the top so that we can sew off the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to go halfway to the top and then bring it out of the center hole. Okay, so I'm just gonna go, so it's coming out of the side right here, and then I'm going to just tuck it here underneath so that it is like holding some structure. Okay, don't pull this one too tight, but now we are here at the mallet halfway. So now we want to take the mallet yarn, we want to take the yarn into this hole. So what we're going to do is stick the needle in. So I put the needle inside, really dig in, and make sure you grab all that yarn underneath. And the thing you want to do is bring your needle out of this center hole right there. So that's what I'm going to do. You can wiggle it around so that you can make sure you get it accurately in there. Mine just came out. Let's pull. You really want to make sure you don't get any knots here. Okay, awesome. Now you see that the yarn is coming out of this top center hole, and that's what we want. Now we're going to start sewing the crown. Okay, as you can see, the mallet, the wraps are like in many different directions in some places, so you want to make sure that you don't miss any of those so that you get a secure sewing. So now the pattern of our sewing is going to be going out. So we have the yarn in the center, and then we're going to put our needle out, but bring the needle from the center. So you're going out and under and coming out of the center hole. So that's what we're going to do. Let's pull through the center, and as you can see, that one stitch is our first stitch of the crown. Now we're going to repeat this around the whole crown. So again, we're going to go out and under and come out of the hole. It becomes harder at this point because there's a lot of yarn to get through. But to pull it through, you can just wiggle it and just bring it through. It might take a little bit of arm strength, but you're going to be fine. Okay, now we have two little 1 and 2. Those are our 2 sewing parts. We're going to continue just going around and make sure you don't miss any of these wraps. pull out of the center. You want to pull this tight so that it's nice and neat. As you can see, we're almost around the whole crown. And you want to make sure it looks nice on the top, because this is the part that's going to be more visible. But regardless, it's going to sound good. So it's getting more difficult to pull it out of the center because there's a lot of sewing right there. The last thing we're going to do is lose our yarn into the mallet that we've just sewn. We have sewn the whole crown here, so that I could have done a neater job, but it was pretty hard to pull through. So now what we're going to do is you want to go underneath all of that crown that you just sewed, and you want to put the needle underneath, and we're going to pull it out. Okay. So now you could go under, you could go over. Basically try to lose the yarn or put it in different places so that it gets more secure. So what we can do here is turn it over and then come back here and do one stitch below on the bottom crown. Pull. This is sort of getting the yarn all around on the top and the bottom, and it's just helping it be strengthened from all sides so it doesn't fall apart. Well, it's not going to fall apart now. So what I'm going to do to bring it back up to the top is go through this crown, obviously not through the wood or anything, through the side, and then pull so that I can get it here and travel the yarn back up. So now I have the yarn coming out of here. I'm going to take it up. And the last thing I want to do is just pull the yarn out of the center of the top. You want to get it right out of that middle part. You really have to push at this point. You've sewn so much. You can use a table to push the needle through. But if it's not like perfectly in the center, then just keep trying until you're able to get right in there. And then we got it out of the center of the hole, and then you just pull like normal. And now what you want to do is pull really, really tight. And here you should have your yarn coming directly out of the center. And now it's time that we're going to cut the yarn. We're basically done now. So you're just going to cut it. I'll cut it here so then I can cut it more precisely in a second. Pull really tight. And then give it a nice trim. Yeah. Perfect. Looks awesome. And there you have your finished mallet with the top and bottom crowns sewn. I hope that helped, and I hope that you can now fix your mallets anytime you need.